top takeaways from the vice presidential debate, Walz versus Vance. The sole vice presidential debate between Democratic nominee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Republican nominee U.S. Senator J.D. Vance took place on CBS this week. The key takeaway is that the debate didn't touch on LGBTQ issues. However, there were still notable moments. Here are the 5 key takeaways from the debate. When asked about January 6th insurrection, J.D. Vance deflected, saying he was, quote, focused on the future, unquote, and claiming Donald Trump encouraged peaceful protests despite Trump telling his supporters to fight like hell. Vance's refusal to directly address the attack and downplaying of the violence was challenged by Walz. The second takeaway was Vance's struggle to provide specifics on health care, referring to vague, quote, concepts of a plan, unquote, from Trump regarding the ACA. Walz mocked Vance's lack of detail, saying his, quote, concepts of a plan, quote, unquote, wouldn't cut it in his 4th grade classroom. Estimates show more than 3 million LGBTQ Americans are on Obamacare, so a significant reduction or loss of the program would have devastating effects on the queer community. The third takeaway was Vance's outdated view on childcare. He suggested that churches or neighbors handle childcare rather than federal programs. Walz countered this by supporting Kamala Harris's child tax credit proposal and advocating for paid family leave. The next takeaway was Vance's emphasis on his support for letting states decide abortion policy. Walz criticized this stance, pointing out that since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, women have died because they couldn't access abortions in their states. The last takeaway was how Vance frequently shifted blame to undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens for various issues from gun violence to the housing crisis. He claimed that an influx of undocumented immigrants caused housing shortages. Walz refuted these claims, arguing that speculators on Wall Street were a bigger factor in rising housing costs and pointed to a bipartisan immigration bill that Trump opposed for political reasons. The debate highlighted clear differences in policy and vision between the two candidates, with Walz consistently pushing for detailed plans and Vance remaining vague on the key issues. There will be no more debates before the election. The debate. Just on the general topic of the debate, I just felt like it wasn't as exciting as the Kamala Harris and Trump debate. I think that both candidates really toned down who they were. Walz normally on a campaign trail is really exciting and really, just a lot of energy and, has a lot of great lines, attack lines. And I just felt like he was not himself into the end. I don't know who the hell J.D. Vance was. That's just not who he is. He was just a phony, a liar, during the debate. I do think on substance, Walz clearly, his job there was to talk more about policy and to really dig deep into, the policy prescriptions of his campaign. I think Vance's goal was to just lie and to distort the truth and to say things that were just blatantly not facts, but he was slick. I think J.D. Vance was I hate to say this, was very likable. I hate to say it. Yeah. He was likable. If you don't pay attention to politics, you like the guy up there. Let's be real. I can be very honest about that. Like, you would like who he is. But if you paid attention to politics, if you knew the facts, if you paid attention to anything that happened in this country, you would know that everything that he said was, pretty much like a crap of lies. It was BS, right? This debate, I don't think was a defining moment in the campaign, but I do think that Walz went there. He did the job that he had to do. I liked when he got back to himself at the end, where he just called them out, on January 6th. I think that was the defining moment. I think that's where it completely turned the debate, right? Because to be honest, I'm going to be very fair. Vance was killing it, and JD and Walz kind of gave him a pass.
Well, you can't say killing it when somebody's just.
Well, he's lying. Right. He was killing it on style.
He's not killing it.
Right. No, he was on style.
Maybe you liked his style, but you have to remember that these guys. Right, that you like his style, but you have to remember that the vice presidential role is really very, it doesn't have a lot to do, right? And so when they're up there debating, it's very difficult to debate because you can't say my policy. Like Kamala and Trump, they could really like talk a lot more. You're kind of relegated to you're speaking for the other person or you're speaking for the platform. You can't really say too much because you don't want to overshadow the other person. You can't say something that maybe they've had some other meeting you don't know about it. So it's weird to have a vice presidential debate. They've never been very interesting. They've never been like anything that really swayed an election. I think they pushed the issue really because Tim Walz wasn't well known nationally. And so to get him in front of the cameras as much as possible, they figure, all right, let's go ahead and do this debate. I felt the same as you. I didn't really watch it because it's not for people like me. That debate was for people who were undecided. That debate was for people in rural America who don't have access to the New York Times and all this stuff. So I wasn't really planning. The little bit that I did watch, I thought the same thing, right? Walz was holding back and he was sticking to, but then I went, well, he has no choice because he's running for vice president. And there's not a lot you can say when you're the vice president. You can't actually say anything because everything is someone else's decision, right? And I wanted him to be coach and I wanted him to, that I know I had in him. And then I went, but wait, but that's not his role. Right now he's running for vice president.
Well, I think he also said in advance that he's not a great debater.
He's not a debater.
He came right out and said that. But as a frail elder, I don't have the stomach or the constitution to watch the debate debacles. Instead, I rely on the news the following day and delight in the resulting memes. My favorite was liar, liar, Vance on fire, which is fitting because Vance is a flaming pile of excrement.
Well, he complained when he was fact-checked. On national TV.
It's going to happen.
The rule was you're not supposed to. I mean, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty terrible to say. Who actually do not fact
on
check
national
on
TV.
National television.
When you're running for the second highest position in the whole.
If anything happens to the president, they're the next in line.
Can you imagine J.D. Vance?
Terrifying.
But you know, like going back to the point of him being a liar. I mean, for those, and to your point too, Paul, for those who don't necessarily have access to popular media to watch this, you would believe this guy. And so, and I do give the anchors, credit because they tried to do like the fact checking and stuff like that. But like, it's scary. It is. But let's think about this. It is very scary. The state of our politics, the fact that you can go have somebody who can go up there and be a straight shooter and just lie.
Lie.
And it's so scary for, our vulnerable Americans who don't have this education.
Right. CBS had a QR code. If you watched on CBS, which I didn't, but you could use the QR code from home, and that QR code fact-checked J.D. Vance. So the moderators had agreed not to do it, except they caught him the one time, but they had agreed not to do it on TV. But they did have that. Now that, if people in rural America knew about the QR code, knew how to set it up, knew how to read the actual factual information, to me, that's a lot for them to go through to get to the truth. I think it should be a little bit easier to get the truth out there because you just let the man lie on national TV, right? It should be a little easier for people to get to the truth.
One thing I want to touch upon with all of you is there was five issues in the story, of course, but the one that's really important that for me, I went back and forth with this, but like our threat to democracy, to be honest with you, the fact that they still cannot accept the results of the previous election.
2020,
and the fact that, God forbid, who knows what's happening? We know a lot's happening behind the scene. Trump has said, that they're trying to subvert this next election again. What I'm scared about is another January 6th happening again.
And again,
it's very scary. And Vance, we already know, he's pretty much said it that he won't do what Mike Pence did. He'll do the opposite.
Of course.
And so this is scary for our democracy, and it's a shame that we've come to this.
And it's scary for our community. The Harris Walz campaign has been out there a lot about the LGBTQ community. They're huge supporters. I think for our community and anybody watching this evening, with what you just said, it's a threat to democracy. Who do you think is going down first?
Right.
Yeah.
And don't forget
we're going down first. So all these gay people walking around talking about, oh, I'm not interested in politics. You better get interested.
registered
quick,
and vote.
because your life is on the
sure.
line here.
And don't
you
forget
better
about
vote
Project
the right way.
2025.
Yeah, and you better vote blue, because anything else
Your life
happens,
depends on it.
your whole life is going to change immediately.
Yeah.
And we already live in a state where we don't have state protections.
right.
We already live in a state where the governor's attacking our community.
Right.
We don't need the federal government to be able to attack our community on top of it.
You know, and to your point about the ticket, in Kamala Harris's role as VP, I will say, from a Pride Lines perspective, we have had so much support from this administration.
Healthcare too.
Healthcare. No, we've
Huge amount.
I literally have had direct talk with her chief of staff. In the administration, literally, we've had some concerns about some issues and some change of federal policies. Literally, her people are on the phone with us at Pride Line saying, let's talk about this. Let's walk through this. How can we support you? How can we connect you to the right resources for Pride Lines to make this work for your
community? And you want that relationship to continue.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
but it's amazing the response that they have been, how responsive they've been to the LGBTQ community. Knowing our vulnerable status here in a state like Florida, they have been so responsive. And I will say, Secretary Becerra came down, for Health and Human Services back in June, and his office as well, still very, I could literally pick up the phone and call people from Harris's office, her government office, not her campaign, and Becerra's office to talk about issues in our community. That's the air that we have, because they're concerned. They're genuine. I could say this administration is genuinely concerned about our community.
Do you hear what he just said?
To your point, Paul,
to
your point, to our LGBT community, if you're not paying attention, pay attention.
You better vote.
You better vote.
You better vote. Because we're out here fighting like crazy, but
we need everything.
It can get bad. We need every single vote. We need every single vote.